Hi guys, as in the last lecture, we discussed the errors and error handling. So if you haven't seen that video, you can check it out on the upper right corner using the I button. And you can also check out the whole playlist of learning Python using the same I button. So today we'll discuss the input output stream. So input basically means taking something from the user. So for that we have to Python command line interface or the Python shell. So let's take the Python shell, which is the IDLE, and open it. So let's take input. So for taking input from the user, we have this code called as input. So you can't see here the three forward angular brackets because it is asking for some input. So here if you type something and then press an enter, so input is now this, you have inputted this all thing. So Python took this and created into string. So input basically returns the input given on this file or given on this standard input of the Python and then returns it in a string value. So we can also store it as x is equal to input and then enter. So here let's give it an input I and then press an enter. So as you can see, when this forward angular bracket occurs, means you are typing some program. As this is our first time using this Python shell, you can also use this instead of Sublime, but I like the Sublime most, so I use that. So this means that we are typing a code and this is the execution of that code using the Python. So let's print the x now. So if we print the x, so you can get the high. So if you print the type of x, you will see that it's of type string. As I said earlier, input gives us in a string format. So we can also format this input to present more beautifully. As here we can't understand that what we have to do. If we cancel this and then input and enter, so we are not getting that what we have to do. Do we have to enter something or we have to wait as Python is loading? So we can't say anything. So to make it more prettier, we can specify some strings. So let's type anything. So we can specify string inside this and then such as enter any number. So let's put in question mark, close our string and bracket and then enter. So here it is directly asking for enter a number, but here also we are getting an cursor directly after it. So let's enter something and then again take the input and then ask to enter a number, then add a new line after it, so it will look more beautiful and user will easily understand. So if we execute this, so it is directly asking, it is directly taking the cursor to the second line. As we have mentioned this \n, we discussed in our previous lectures. These are the special characters we can use, so you can check that out in our playlist. So here now we will enter some and then, so as you can see here, this is an entered as a string, but while calculating something we have to use it as a integer. So as we discussed in the functions lecture, we can convert the data types from one to another. So let's take an variable x and store input of, let's copy this and then let's copy cut this and then use the int function. As we discussed in the functions, this is the int function used to convert the parameters into the integer. So let's execute this and then give an input of 6, and then if we press enter, so let's print x and then type of x. So you can print multiple things using this. Here, while we are using a comma, it will give a space between these two things. So here x is equal to 6 and then space and then type of x. So you can print multiple things without keep on formatting that as adding plus, string, plus and that all stuff. So you can directly print many things using comma separated values, and it will appear using a single space. Now you can see here the type of x is converted into int. So now we can perform the integer operations on this int. So this is basically taking the input from the user. So as we know, printing is the outputting to the stream. So let's output high. As we have used this print many times, this print outputs are required thing to the output console. So here we can see the high. So basically input output includes taking something from the user and then giving again back to the user using some functions. So here input function takes the user input and the print output the required value to the user. So here we can see high. So let's go again to our Sublime Text. So here if we use that code input and then run, so it will go into an infinite loop and it will do nothing as we input here. So it doesn't do anything. So as we are taking this file, converting into Python and then executing the output to this console. So here we can't use the input output. So as we can't take the input here using the direct input method, but as we know the flow of the input and output, we can do it from another way. So basically what does the Python does, as we saw in the shell, Python shell, let's put the input and then a bracket. So here it is written that reads a string from standard input. So there are many types of input. Here the Python file takes the input from the standard input which is predefined in the Pythons. As we discussed in the functions and modules, we discussed that these codes are all predefined and it takes the values from there. So the standard input is the input standardly defined in the Python from where it takes the input. So while we use the print, so if we use the print, so here also you can see that system.standard output. So here std means the standard and out is the output. So here basically input takes the values from the standard input and print post the value to the standard output. So here you can see that system.standard input. So we can use this in a Sublime Text and modify our file, and then we can take from the files. So let's import system. This is the short form of system, and then system dot standard input. So here we have to specify some files. So to take input from a file, we have to first see how the Python works with the files.